I know you're trying to be serious and all, but I had to put on my cletus hat and get my clipboard. Because you're asking me some questions and I'm going to answer them like an American. Yeah. Loud, proud, and stupid. Thank you very much. Ah. Alright, I shouldn't goof around, but I wrote the notes all wrong, so I am going to goof around. I just don't care. Alright. The U.S. has fair treatment of cultures, skins, colors. Why? Wait, I forgot what you said. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Well, that's real simple. Slavery didn't work. Because the more it went in from a basic crop where you just had people that were just chafe and just beasts of burden, to actually, when the technology went up, when you had to have more thinking people and more cooperative workers, well, slavery didn't do it for it. And that's why it created social pressures in the South, and everybody was going up to the North because they knew they could be free and consequently make a lot of money. That's one reason. Okay, question 2. Why didn't independence apply to independence for everyone? Well, that's simply because the South would have floundered. And everybody had a slave anyway. They tried making Indians slaves, but they just fell over and died. So they went and got the black man, and that worked just fine. Because he was too stubborn to freaking fall over and die. So, when he said, oh, I want to be free too, they said, it's only white, rich landowners that are going to be free. So you can just forget that right now and get back into the field. Mostly friggin' growing other things like friggin' marijuana and whatever not. So that's what happened there. It wasn't free. It was just free of the English. It's got all twisted around now. It used to be white, rich landowners. Now it's just got turned around into everybody. They didn't word it right. Okay, how'd the ghetto happen? Well, it's simple. The quality of life went up. Everywhere was a ghetto, with a very few people having it well off. In a pre- or very nearly post-industrial society, there wasn't no quality of life. If you wanted quality of life, you moved west. And you ferried off the Indians and the bandits and other kind of lawlessness, and you friggin' broke your back 12 hours a day in the little log shack you were built, and if you starved, you starved, and if you friggin' got eaten by wolves or fell down the mountains or got lost or got caught in the snow, that was it for you. So, you know, of course there were ghettos. Because they found out it was very much easier to friggin' keep people under thumbs by paying them next to nothing in a factory than it was to put them in slavery. So that's right after the Emancipation Proclamation, we all became wage slaves. That's what happened. And color ain't got nothing to do with it because white people are the poorest people in the friggin' USA. Oh, but that don't matter. No. Oh, God. Mexicans shot and murdered. Really? You mean by the coyotes that friggin' haul them over for friggin' exploitation? You mean that kind of shot and murdered? Yeah, it happens. You know? And why does it happen? It's because what I was talking about just a minute earlier, about how they knocked off the slaves, so they friggin' went ahead and did comparative advantage and sent everything overseas, and then they played the game hand in hand with the new liberals that came about around the 19th century, crying about human suffrage. So that all went hand in hand with white racist liberalism. And then there you go, freaking all of a sudden, freaking after we got rid of the Indians and got rid of the Mexicans, they all wanted their land back, La Raza and all that. So what do? They come here, make the freaking rich white man rich, and freaking displace all the blacks and poor whites. Not to mention all the floodgates with everyone else that's coming in here that's freaking broke from Ellis Island and just jumping the border because no one cares no more. And that's why people like me and people freaking around me and even Hispanics here that have been here a long time are being displaced by an ever-flowing trend of immigrants that just displace any kind of chance to make a living wage and a decent profit through taxation and stop corporatism. That's the truth about it, but no one can say it. Oh, okay. Now you're asking me, how come corporate fat cats find better ways to find cheap labor to friggin' get richer? Maybe you should look into that libertarianism. The same one that says, oh, it's my body, my right. Well, they also say, it's my labor, it's my right. And with my labor, my right, that means that people like the Koch brothers and everyone else freaking goes ahead and says that their corporation is their personhood. And then that's how we got that with no aspect of clarity in government because it's all privatized. Of course, you do have to address the aspect of redistribution of wealth to be fair on that situation or on that topic. But what are they doing now? Oh, they just skipped the Mexicans. Now they went right to the Chinese. Because they're over there doing the friggin' slave labor. Because they'll do it without any problems. That's why you get poison toothpaste. Oh, you mean, how come the minorities get it worse from the friggin' rich white people again? Okay, I'll explain that. It's because friggin' it was never really about the minorities. It was really about friggin' people in the East Coast trying to hold on to their money from the South and the North to the people who tried to go west and tried to establish a friggin' new frontier at the expense of the Indians, mind you, the savages. Friggin' to rival the East and West Coast to friggin' make their economic gain. But of course now, the friggin' money barons have wiped them out because they're displaced by all the immigration. And they're also displaced because the only thing you hear about them is in cultural reminiscence of the same conservatives that made the friggin' Midwest the friggin' poor because of multinational corporations. And they've got the game so divided up between friggin' social liberals and economic conservatives that it's a friggin' actually a two-party, one-system state. And that's what you really have, is friggin' rich whites subjugating poor whites and using every friggin' immigrant and person of color to friggin' do that subjugating. That's what's really happening. And yes, everyone who comes here for the American dream gets friggin' tossed to the friggin' grinder because they're part of the subjugation, the disenfranchisement of the poor. And that's what you're having, actually, is a class issue between the poor and the rich. And that's what you see in the Midwest when all those factories and resources are shrinking because of outsourcing. And that's why you have the people in the Midwest trying to hang on to their cultural heritage so badly because they want it back. And I don't think that's a damn thing to be ashamed of. Yeah, I imagine if you was a white middle-class American, you'd feel ashamed too, because to be able to hold on to that middle-class status, which is having to go higher because everything else is being depleted in the social classes because of the decentralization, or, well, the class is shrinking, basically poor and richer and just a little bit on the top. The cream is all rising to the top, basically, is what's happening, if you really want to put a good analogy on it. And the friggin' grinds are all friggin' getting ground to the bottom. Yeah, you should have guilt, because you'd have to subjugate friggin' not only poor whites, but poor minorities who have the friggin' circle of poverty to deal with also. Because it's really not a race issue at all. Although it's termed that way, so it can go hand in hand with the conservative liberal political machine. And that's the truth of it. And so anybody who speaks out against that is supposed to be hurtful, hateful. Oh, well, I don't know, but I've seen some things going on in England, and I can tell you right now, I wouldn't want to be one of those English liberation people. But at the same time, I don't think I'd enjoy that Islamification either. So, enjoy yours, because we've already got ours. That's it. As serious or as not as you want to take it. Well, let's see. I'm a third French. I think half of that is freaking Black Hills Indian. Half Irish. And the rest is Scot. Golly, does that classify me as a minority? Where's my check?